We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I am here today with Jeff Davis of Bridgestone Capital, and prior to the show, we were talking and we've been kind of hitting around on what he's got going on and the raise that he is completing as we speak and what that is tied to, and so many different things that could potentially help you. If you are a beginning capital raiser and you're looking for ideas, it is imperative that you listen to what Jeff has to say because he's been through it, he's done it, and he's succeeded. And now we want to hear your story. So, Jeff, how are you today?
I am good. I'm good. It's already been an active morning. It's
Awesome,
9 a.m.
man.
here on the Gulf Coast. Been busy.
That's great. That's great. We love activity because we don't want to, when you're sitting still, you're not making money and your investors aren't making money. So
Right.
we want to keep everything pushing forward and moving up. So, man, tell us a little bit about your background. I know prior to the show, you said that, you've got, kind of some logistics and some other stuff that very systemized type businesses. But I want to hear a little bit about, like, even prior to that, where did you come from? What did your background look like?
Yep. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. So married in June of '05, and then Katrina hit, which brought us over to Houston, Texas,
Okay.
in August of '05. So as newlyweds, we were running away from a hurricane,
Yep.
and which put me on a path to knock on doors and find a job. And that's
Okay.
how I got into the logistics business, man. I was doing data entry and learning the freight business, and that is a career that was really a blessing. It provided for me and my new family,
Yep.
and been doing it ever since. So 17 years in the logistics business.
Man, that's
It's been
awesome.
real good. It's been real good, and from there, I got into real estate. Um, oh gosh, about 2000 and I guess 2008,
Okay.
2011. After we bought our second house, so
Okay.
we bought a house, moved in, and then we bought another house. I kept that first one, and we were renting it, and I got that taste of a rental check and never
Ah,
I
that
never
mailbox money. Mailbox money.
I never looked back, man.
Yep.
I
Man, that's
never looked
awesome. And that's what a lot of people do. They get there, they're like, I don't know what this is. What is this? And then they cash that first check and they're like, wait a minute, I didn't actually have to exchange my time for this. And yes, sir.
Yeah,
Spot on.
and I will tell you, not every story and not every experience with real estate was a great one.
Sure.
I've had some heartache, but it was like you always come out. I've pretty much always come out smelling like a rose with experience.
Yep. Yep. Well,
Yeah,
and that's the whole thing. A lot of people forget to somewhat monetize that in their minds the experience, and say, damn, I lost this or damn, I lost that. But did you really, or did you actually gain knowledge of how things are? And so yeah, if you got education out of it, it was definitely worth something.
well, you got to take. I'm big on accountability
Yep.
and owning my mistakes and saying, well, it's not real estate's fault. It was something that I should have done differently, and I made this error, and I will
Yep.
not make that error again.
Yep. And mental note it,
Yep.
paperclip it to everything else, and roll on. And just know that the next time that shows its head, that you want to go a different direction. So I've always said, when I first started in real estate, I remember telling myself the word account was huge, whether that was accountability, whether that was accounting, or whether that was keeping accounts for customers and following up on those accounts. And so I always thought accountability was huge, especially when you're self-employed or you're in the real estate business, because you don't have somebody getting up every day saying, "Come on, let's go." You have to basically be that guy and the person that gets up and comes on.
Correct.
So yeah, man. So '08, is that what you said when you first got started?
Yeah, and I'm incorrect on that. It was a little bit before. I apologize for
That's
that.
fine.
It was not before. '08 is when I went to a class and learned and kind of had my mind shift.
Sure.
And I give all credit to Del Walmsley for that. He taught
Ah,
me.
okay.
I don't know if you're familiar who he is, but here in Houston, he runs a shop and um, so. But after it was actually 2012 when we did that.
Gotcha.
I don't know why I got my years mixed up.
Gotcha.
So that's when we bought the next house. In
Okay.
the next 10 years, so we had that rental. I really learned some huge benefits because I refinanced,
Yeah.
and uh, between refinancing, buying another rental, and cash flowing there and cashing more rental checks, selling that rental. I mean, that's essentially, I took tax free money and made rental checks. And
Yeah.
I, I mean, that's just,
Tax free gains for sure. I guess you did 1031.
no, I didn't. I had
Okay.
some taxes at the end. Uh,
Okay.
I, I had talked to a 1031 guy, and he actually advised me. He gave me advice, and I took it
Okay.
because of the specific circumstances surrounding the 1031 in my situation.
Okay.
So, and his advice was, I'm going to advise you to just eat it in your
Okay.
scenario.
That's pretty honest advice when somebody that's dealing in 1031s tells you not to do a 1031. I mean, that's definitely somebody to listen to. And I think a lot of people forget that some of the circumstances that do surround like kind exchanges. And I've had people that have told me over the years, they're like, "Hey, man, just pay the taxes, and then you get the full benefit of the money if you're wanting to use that money for operating type needs." Um, if you don't necessarily, because there I've seen all kinds on especially on the agricultural side, where some people are like they're flipping a farm
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to make good money on it, but they're like, hey, I just soon pay the taxes on the gains and let's move on. But then I've got the guy over here who's also a client who absolutely he's going to 1031 15 something that he's going to have to pay $15 in taxes on. He's going to go through the 1031. And so it really comes down, there's not a right way.
It's
it's
not
it's
one size fits all.
Correct. It's got to benefit one way or the other. And sometimes, again, if you're in a highly leveraged position with maybe your operating money that you're using, the money to operate daily, then maybe it is beneficial to say, hey, I'll pay the third in taxes, put the money towards your operating, bring your interest down, then you're paying less in whatever. So again, yes, every scenario is different, and finding somebody that's honest about that or that knows how to um, facilitate your specific needs at the time is huge.
Yeah, and part of it was the era of taxes being extremely low at the time, with the era of taxes that we were about to go into.
Sure.
Um, he said, just consider that because all of his clients were saying, we're going to bite it right now.
Just going to eat it right now
We're
and be
going to
done
eat
with
it right now because it ain't getting any lower.
it. Yep.
Just, yeah.
And that's the thing. And and fortunately, interest rates didn't go up, so it's made things where maybe that was the right decision, or maybe it was the wrong, depending on the time. But when interest rates were looking at going up, it's hard to say, hey, yeah, let's do a 1031 and then be paying interest somewhere else. So it makes sense. But so tell us a little bit about this. We talked prior to the show about this raise that you just completing. I think you said it's going to be complete today or tomorrow.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about the how you came to kind of buddy up with somebody on that, and then what that's looked like going forward. So uh, go ahead and take the mic on that.
Yeah, I'll take the mic on that. I joined Raise Masters. I got into a syndication group to learn multifamily. It's a small kind of niche, not super small, but and partnering with and learning the multifamily thing last year because I could not scale single family every time you were starting something new,
Yeah,
doing flips and wholesaling. It was tough.
something else happens
Yeah,
every time.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of stories about that. And we had another baby.
Oh,
That
ah,
yeah. I have this. I have some cool pictures about starting this flip, and I'm inside a dumpster, and then I left there, picked up my wife, go to the hospital, same day, had a
uh,
baby. So
oh,
it
that's a
was
busy
a
day.
it was a crazy crazy summer,
Yep.
and I said, I'm watching my friends, and they're scaling, and the time that I'm doing single family properties,
Yep.
they had as many apartment complexes, and we have a good relationship, and I watched and talked to them and said this is a much more scalable business, and that's why I got into it and
Yep.
read Hunter Thompson's book, learned about him, and this is the easiest path. And I will go into that term easy, but raising the capital is a way to partner with uh, syndicators and operators to a
Yep.
multifamily.
Yep.
So joined Raise Masters, Hunter Thompson's group. Talked with Adam for quite a while in learning about the operation here. Really liked everything they had to say, and the group is some really knowledgeable people.
Yep.
And so jumped on a couple phone calls with Rob,
Okay.
and he had mentioned he had a couple of deals coming, and one of them there would be an opportunity for me to have my first raise and
Yep.
be a co-GP, and that happened to be here in Houston because he only operates in Houston, and that's what I'm working on now. And
Yep.
funding deadlines this week, so
Yep. Well, good. And you had now I'm a huge proponent of Raise Masters myself, and I'm actually a student of Raise Masters also. And so, as my listeners are aware, that when Hunter teaches things, he's very matter of fact. He's very straightforward. He doesn't he wants to teach you from his experiences, and what he knows, and really just a knowledge base of things. And the thing I like about Hunter too is, and I don't mean for this to be a huge Raise Masters plug, but it's going to be, because the thing that I like about Hunter is that he basically takes an attitude of, um, if I don't know what the answer to the question you're asking, I will go find out. And I will ask as many
right.
people as it takes until I get an answer. And so, but much of what he already knows is, he knows much of what you're going to ask, and so on. And of course, that was the same direction that we went. We took the stance of a fund of funds, and have since partnered with a few different operators for ours. And so, what were the challenges when it came time for you to actually like make the first phone call and say, hey, will you send me 50 grand, or hey, will you invest 50 grand or 100 grand, or whatever the case was? What Tell us a little bit about, like, how did that first phone call go? What were the butterflies? And maybe if the first phone call was a parent or something along those lines, maybe go to the second one. Let's talk about somebody that maybe you didn't have a full on prior relationship with. How did that conversation look?
Um, yeah. So I think it's more of a pride thing because
Hmm.
my expectation was, hey, I'm in a commercial role,
Yep.
and everybody that I deal with, I already ask for money.
Yep.
And everybody that I ask for money from, I have a very close relationship with. And we deal
Okay.
millions of dollars. And they know that I do real estate. And we
Yep.
talk about my deals. I show them pictures.
Yep.
And we have dinner together. And in some cases, we talk kids. And some of them have been to my house. This is going to be a very easy transition.
Yep.
Um, that was not the case. It
Okay.
was a more difficult transition than I had anticipated.
Okay.
And because now we're going from, and what I realized was I'm going from asking from them from a procurement manager,
Yep.
writing the check for their company that they work for,
Yep.
to them signing over their money. And while they know that I uh, personally do have some success with real estate, it's still a different dynamic.
Sure.
And so I was probably definitely overconfident
Okay.
and not prepared for that. And I
Gotcha.
think I went in overconfident.
Well, and that makes sense. And I've dealt with that to a certain degree. And it's hard for people to understand sometimes when you're dealing with somebody that's writing a check for their company and they so freely sign their name and send them and pay bills and this that and the other. It adds an entirely new layer of complexity when you're like, hey man, can I have some of your personal money? Can I have some of your personal paycheck? Can I have not have, but can you invest some of your money? And so that makes perfect sense that one would think that, yeah, I'll just call these people. They're always writing checks. They're always doing this and the other. But that
I've
makes
done them.
perfect sense. And then it's a little different when you start asking them for their piggy bank. Um, now, what initial resistance did you have, and what was the premise like? What was the premise behind why they were being resistant? Were they just like, man, I really don't know, or what
Yeah,
was the I just I need some more information, or
there's
what
a
what is
lot
what
of
was the
that. It
okay?
was a lot of, yeah, man, I'm definitely interested. I just need some more information and I
Yep.
need to, oh, yeah, I'm going to need to research this. And then some of them were just gung ho, I'm in.
Yep.
And I told this story last night. And I hope to use this to save other investors if they have
Okay.
not run into this.
Okay.
I had two who were in, two $100,000 investors
Okay.
that were in. These were not customers. These were, I guess you'd call them friends, who had already completed a divorce, but not completed the I guess you'd call it the financial settlement, the
Okay.
asset distribution of the divorce. So they just needed to confirm with the attorneys.
Okay.
And both of the attorneys said this will really blow up the asset division of your divorce settlement, whatever that aspect is. Uh, so that was unexpected. So
What was
I know moving forward, if I find out that somebody is not done with the asset distribution of their divorce, I'm just going to tell them don't bother. Wait until everything is really settled with your divorce.
Yeah, because I mean that's especially if they're not fully legally divorced, it's hard to add another asset to that. That makes sense. So there was two people like that.
Two $100,000 investors, yes.
Wow, wow. What so when you start saying now, that seems to be the. Did you put together a pro forma? Did you put together a pitch deck kind of a scenario for the people that you were calling and saying, hey, would you be willing to invest?
Join the webinar and do the whole thing.
Gotcha. And then, so what was the idea behind more information? If they had all of the stuff in front of them, what was, do you think that maybe the more information maybe was a little bit of a cop out? Like maybe there was something else they didn't like or want?
I believe that this was a cop out
Okay.
or just uncomfortable because, this is a change of mindset. It's, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people that don't, because see the thought process behind these assets and the stuff in syndications are have been reserved for basically the institutional investors and institutional lenders and institutional people that have always said, okay, hey, we're going to go out there and the only way to scale is through multifamily. So they've traditionally owned, they've done their own portfolio, and now this is kind of down one notch where they're saying, okay, hey, these accredited investors can buy these portions of these things, and the people are, and again, you're right, it's a mindset because they're like, what do you mean by a share of what? And then so it makes perfect sense, and I think that that's why it's so imperative to educate people.
yeah.
And part of, was there a percentage of your webinar that was based around educating and bringing them along, or
Mm.
was it all based around the investment itself?
All about the investment, but my emails and are designed around the investment or
Okay.
around passive investing as an education and nurturing.
Okay. Sure.
I just don't know that it is. It needs to be more effective. I need to improve on that.
Yep.
But I also think that this initial network that I've been going after is still learning that. Except for the people that I talked to, and they were kind of. It wasn't an objection. It was a. You mean like Grant Cardone? At which point I said, yes,
Yes,
exactly
exactly.
like that.
Yep.
And then I knew we could have a meaningful discussion. In fact, my very first boss, she was she was excited, right? She said,
Yep.
"Are you doing like Grant Cardone?" And I said, "Yeah." I mean, and we talked, and uh, I get excited because she says, "Yeah, I've been doing this Grant Cardone thing." She says, "I put a little bit of my commission every month in it,"
Yep.
and so she's like, "Yeah, I'm in." So I'll wait till my next commission. I'll put it in.
Well, and and let's be to be quite honest, you know, it might be a new concept to a lot of people, but I mean, people have been raising money for thousands of years. I mean, crowdfunding is not it's only new. The term is the only thing that's new or newer. It's the fact that, all of these businesses that you look at have been funded by somebody somewhere outside, even if they're a quote unquote private company,
Yeah,
they're or taken private. There's still a crowd of people. It's just fewer people,
it's with the stock
and the
market.
fewer the people, they have more money invested each. Does that make sense? And so, just for instance, and then that's the other thing. People talk about Warren Buffett. Okay, Warren Buffett is for all intents and purposes a fund of funds, and it took me a long time to realize that. It took me a long time to realize that what he's done is he's created a layer. People invest with him because Berkshire is Berkshire. They invest with him because he's Warren Buffett.
Right.
And then he takes that money and he has a certain set of standards that he has in place prior to purchasing such and such other companies with his investors' funds. Then he turned around, of course, and monetized that in the form of a share, A class, B class share. And so it all makes perfect sense when it comes around in that direction. And so again, yeah, these terms are the only things that are really new about this whole deal. The form or the idea of raising money or raising capital is, I guess, as old as humanity. So, well, tell us a little bit about this deal that you've done that you're completing your raise on. Um, and you did a webinar. How many webinars did you have to do prior to getting people really to start saying, "Hey, I'll invest with you"?
Well, I did. We did the one. Rob hosted it, and
Okay.
then I sent out a couple of different. So the way that I did it, I sent out the webinar invite. I had pretty good attendance on that one webinar. I sent out the replay to my entire list,
Okay.
and then I tracked everybody that clicked,
Okay.
and I sent out a second replay to everybody who I saw clicked, which was
Okay.
a couple hundred. And so that's how I kind of sent that out. I'm honest.
Gotcha. And how well did that go? How many of your so you told me earlier you raised, I think you said you raised 500.
Yeah,
And
crowdfunding.
how many different investors is that 500, does that 500 represent?
It is at about 5 investors.
Five investors.
Yeah.
Okay. And
No, no,
did
no. I'm not there yet. I have 300 in, and then
okay.
I have four more people who are about to wire.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cash Flow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
And then so the webinar was somewhat successful.
Yes.
You sent it to your list. Now let's talk a little bit about finding where are you finding people for your list? I mean, how is that? Are you just doing social media? Are you just doing how are you representing your company and what you're doing?
So what I initially did was had my VA go to my LinkedIn contacts, which
Okay.
I have 1,500.
Okay.
I mean, it's all my business, right?
Yep.
Do for sales. And she went to every single one and with kind of a canned message individually. Hey, I'm doing a newsletter based on buying apartments.
Okay.
Would you like to? Can I send it to you? Can I add you to my list? If they said no, then I said I don't want to be your friend anymore. No, I'm just kidding, but you know,
I was like, really? I was like, wow, that's a good way to make enemies real quick.
Man, you thought I was serious. So we're approaching every single one that has been successful, right? If they say yes, she sends, a follow-up message of, hey, look for my email, check your spam, and check out my website.
Cool.
Every
Okay.
single one. She just finished that same process on my Facebook. I'm not nearly as popular in social circles. I only have about 250 Facebook friends.
Okay.
What I'm doing now to improve my open rate, which is at 20%.
Okay.
However, I've learned that's
20% is pretty high.
that's pretty high. But I want to
20%
improve.
is actually like about 4 times. Actually, I think the industry average is like 2%.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Industry, no, the industry average is 2 to 3%. Now, specific opted in lists tend to be higher, but I still think those are even 10, 11, 12%. So 20% is pretty high.
well, good. Okay, you make me feel good. So
Yeah.
I'm 20% open rate. What I'm going to do is she started this Friday.
Okay.
She's going back over the list of all the people who said yes and saying, hey, thanks so much. Can you just double check your spam folder and make sure that you're receiving my newsletters and deals?
Okay.
And just to see, because maybe we can tick that up a little bit because I know I'm going into spam.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I just want to.
And I'll give my guy Jason Wright a plug here as well.
Phenomenal.
Jason, yeah, he set all of my automations up, and of course I had to go behind them, not because they didn't do it right or anything. I had to go behind them and then add my personalized content to what they did. And Jason's been on my podcast. I hope the listeners know how to reach out to him. If not, let us know. We'll be glad to hook you up. Jason's a good dude. But
I will also vouch for Jason.
Yeah,
he did all my automations, and he is
intentionally inspirational.
Yeah,
and Jason's a good dude. So, all right. Well, listen, we're getting close to the end of our time here. I want to ask a couple of different questions, and these can be answered however you see fit. There's no right or wrong answer other than I don't know. That's the only wrong answer to either question. First question is, what is the best book that you have recently read or are reading or are planning to read that you know of?
Fiction or nonfiction?
Whatever. The best book. What's the best book? I have a lot of people that say, hey, this book did more for me with my business. This book did more for me in real estate. This book did more for me personally. Whatever the case is, what's the best book you've recently read or hope to read?
Yeah, well, I'll give you one of each.
Okay.
We talked about accountability. Years ago, I read Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink. I read a lot of nonfiction. I think we all probably do read a lot of business books, but that book was hands down a fantastic, it's all about accountability. Own everything, because we all can improve our situation.
Absolutely.
Probably how we communicated to somebody. For fiction, I'm a big fan of Harlan Coben, right? If you read 4 Hour Workweek, he says do your nonfiction in the day and then your fiction at night before you go to bed, because it kind of turns your brain off.
Yep.
Harlan Coben, man, he's got some good suspense novels.
Yep. Oh yeah. I love my wife likes the thrillers and those kinds of things. I pretty much stick to the nonfiction. It seems like I have to read books a paragraph at a time, because when I lay down at night, I read one paragraph and then I fall asleep. So obviously it's
all audible for me.
Yeah, audible. So all right. So what is the best trip that you have taken, or vacation that you have taken, or dream vacation that you hope to take?
Yeah.
Any of them?
Well, over to the East Coast. We've never been to the West Coast.
Okay.
We've driven west, up to Boise, Virginia. Virginia. I forget the name of the little town, but it's up in the Smoky Mountains. We did like a 10-day trip, and it was phenomenal. So
with kids or no kids?
We got 5 kids, man. We can't leave them.
Nobody I got you.
Nobody will watch them, man.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. That's what I've got, 5. They are. We were at the baseball field till 9:00 last night, so it was great. It's great. I love getting them up the next morning too. So.
So fun, right? Yeah. You know what they say about baseball? Dinner's either at 4 or at 10.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And we're out of the baseball phase. I just texted my son's old baseball coach. I was like, man. It's an old baseball picture with my oldest. I was like,
yep,
a little sad,
For some reason, I feel like I'm going to miss these days when it's the 4:00 dinners or the 10:00 dinners. I don't know. They say that, but my oldest is moving on up, and the youngest is he's the one that was playing last night. So anyway, all right. So Jeff, tell the listeners if they've heard something they want to connect with, or maybe they have some advice for you, or want to get some advice from you. What is the best way for them to reach out and get in contact with you?
Yeah, so my site is bridgestoneinvest.com, and just go to my site. You can put in your information. It'll get your information through my automation. So www.bridgestoneinvest.com.
Cool, man. Good deal. Well, hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I know the listeners can pick through there and get some value out of what you said, and that especially if they're starting up and are trying to nudge their way into this business. That's your story was one of a kind, and hopefully they can get some value from that, and maybe it'll help them on their journey. So Jeff, thanks again for being with us, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Cashflow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.